The mansion stood tall on the outskirts of the bustling city, its marble walls and iron gates shielding a family whose name carried weight in boardrooms and society circles alike. At the heart of this household lived young Adrian, the only son of billionaire Raymond Crawford. Adrian had been diagnosed as deaf when he was barely 3 years old. Doctors had assured the Crawfords that nothing could be done, that their son would never hear the world around him. It was a painful truth. That Raymond, a man accustomed to solving problems with money, could not buy his way out of. He resigned himself, pouring resources into the best therapists, tutors, and specialists, while his wife Eleanor built a careful routine around Adrian's condition. They loved their son, but over the years, pity and protection cloaked him more than freedom ever could. Adrian grew into a quiet boy with soulful eyes and an unusual patience. Often found sitting by the wide glass windows watching raindrops fall, or tracing his fingers across piano keys, though he could never hear the notes. In the Crawford estate, staff came and went, intimidated by the family's high standards, until one autumn morning when a new maid arrived. Her name was Maria, a young woman from a modest town who carried with her not only resilience from hardship, but also a sharp sense of observation. Maria had been told of the boy's deafness before she began her work, and she took care to move gently around him. Yet as the days passed, she noticed little things that unsettled her. Once, while dusting the library, she dropped a heavy book and saw Adrian's head flinch ever so slightly. Another time, in the garden, she whispered a tune to herself while pruning flowers, and she swore she caught Adrian's lips curving upward, as if he recognized the melody. At first she dismissed it, thinking perhaps it was coincidence or wishful imagination. But Maria was not one to look away from the truth when it tapped at her shoulder. She began testing it quietly. When she carried a tray of teacups and let a spoon clink against porcelain behind him, Adrian's eyes flickered. When she hummed a lullaby near his bedroom door, he turned his head faintly, though no one else noticed. The more she saw, the more convinced she became. Adrian was not entirely deaf. Maria struggled with whether to speak up. Who was she, a maid of barely a month, to question years of doctors, tutors, and wealthy parents who trusted only the best experts? She feared dismissal, or worse, being accused of fabricating hope. Still, her conscience pressed upon her. She remembered her younger brother back home, once misdiagnosed with a condition that nearly altered his whole life, until a simple check revealed the error. What if Adrian was living under the same shadow? One afternoon, when Eleanor was away, at a charity event and Raymond was at his office, Maria found herself alone with Adrian in the music room. The boy sat at the piano, touching the keys gently, as if trying to imagine their song. She took a deep breath and spoke softly. "Adrian, can you hear me?" His hands froze. His eyes lifted, searching hers, confused but startled. Slowly, she pressed a single piano key. The sound echoed through the room. His gaze followed her fingers, then lingered on her face. She pressed another note, this time watching him closely. His body shifted, reacting not just to the vibration but to something deeper. Then, for the first time, she saw tears pool in his eyes. Maria knew then that what she suspected was true. Adrian could hear not perfectly, perhaps, but enough to sense and respond. She knelt beside him and whispered, "You can hear, can't you?" The boy nodded faintly, a gesture so fragile and yet so monumental it sent shivers through her. That evening, Maria wrestled with what to do. By nightfall, she resolved to approach Eleanor first, believing the mother's heart would hear her out. When Eleanor returned, Maria cautiously shared her observations, recounting every instance, every test she had quietly made. At first, Eleanor stiffened, her aristocratic composure shielding her from gullibility. But something in Maria's sincerity, and the tremor in her own son's eyes, when she tried the test herself, broke through her skepticism. She called for Raymond immediately. What followed was a whirlwind of disbelief, anger, and hope. Raymond, a man who trusted only science and expensive expertise, refused to accept the word of a maid. Yet Eleanor insisted on new examinations, pushing past his pride. Reluctantly, he agreed. The next week, specialists conducted a battery of tests once more. This time, to everyone's astonishment, the results revealed partial but significant hearing ability. Adrian was never fully deaf. His condition had been misdiagnosed,
Ow.
worsened by assumptions and reinforced by years of cautious living. The revelation shook the Crawford household to its core.
Ow.
Raymond felt betrayed by the experts he had trusted, but also guilty for never questioning beyond their words. Eleanor wept for the lost years, the silent birthdays. The boy who had been sheltered in pity when he could have been nurtured in possibility. And Maria, the maid who had dared to see what others overlooked, found herself both praised and resented. Praised for uncovering the truth, resented for being the one who revealed a failure in the life of the powerful. Yet above all, Adrian's world began to change. Slowly, with therapy and guidance, he learned to recognize sounds, to form words, to experience music beyond vibrations. The first time he heard the sound of rain outside his window, he sat for hours, his face lit with wonder. The Crawfords, once defined by their wealth and status, now found their greatest treasure in the laughter of their son. A laughter made possible not by fortune, but by the courage of a maid, who listened more deeply than anyone else had, in time. Raymond came to respect Maria not merely as a worker, but as a guardian of truth. He ensured her family back home received support, though Maria asked for nothing in return. Her satisfaction was in watching Adrian bloom, no longer cloaked in silence, but alive to the world he had been denied. The Crawford story became whispered among the city's elite, not as a tale of wealth, but as a reminder that sometimes the greatest discoveries come not from specialists or fortune, but from the humble eyes and ears of someone who truly cares. And so the story of the billionaire's son, once bound by a misdiagnosis, became a testament to perseverance, humility, and the extraordinary power of paying attention.